What? Yep.
Hello? Yeah, I checked. Yeah, that's what
Okay
they...
there, boy.
Yeah, they said they gotta hook up the hose or something. Yeah. It was a few minutes ago. I went and checked it. Yeah, that's all. Alright. Yeah, so who's that? Yeah, so I went up and checked. It was fine. I'll see you. Yeah, you're at work though? Okay, I'll see you later. Alright, bye. Stop sleep, sorry.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to make good games and sell them, but that's obviously not the only stuff that goes on in the video game industry. We see big budget clubs.
And fiascos all the time in 2024.
I don't know, boy.
Hi, folks, from South and today I'm
Yeah.
that died in 2024. Starting off with number 10, Game Informer shutdown. One of the last remaining gaming magazines finally called it quits this year after being closed suddenly by parent company GameStop. They didn't even give them a chance to put out a final goodbye issue. The magazine was closed effective immediately, making it issue 367 their final physical magazine. If you're a younger viewer, it's probably hard to imagine. Video game magazines usually doesn't support the parts of life. We all have stuff like Nintendo Power,
That's my boy.
Someone fixing games will be able to demo this. And a lot of us play games. We wouldn't be able to buy
Easy, boy.
Please understand how good they are. Why it was worthwhile to say
Yeah, you all right there, boy?
the idea of a gaming magazine, it's on inevitable decline. It was slow, but inevitable. The Game Informer was owned by GameStop, who would sell subscriptions in the stores. I know that's why I was just Game Informer use that. Even once it's died, it's just nice to know that it's still going. It was like a rock in the storm. I mean, it was turmoil. Game Informer was one that he took on, so it was finally gone. It feels like the end of the era. Listen, game magazines weren't always the best. A lot of them were just bottom catalogs.
Okay,
Game Informer was mostly a marketing market. GameStop, especially in marketing, and you are going to be buying and so on. And we can happen to be fast. This is The relative success of the has been pretty positive. I mean, what does it say to me? It's that good. It's that well. Actually, a pretty fair amount. Enough for some to give Final Fantasy VII Rebirth an award for being one of the 3 best-selling games on the PS5 in 2024. That's nothing to shake a stick at, but it did not meet the numbers that Square Enix projected it wanted. Now, there could be a lot of reasons why the game didn't do as well as the previous Final Fantasy VII Remake title, but the thing that the developers have decided is the scapegoat, per se, is exclusivity. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was a PlayStation exclusive, and that's why it didn't sell as much. And that's a common refrain in the industry. AAA is just too big and too expensive to combine to a single console. If these companies want to recoup the cost of game development and make a profit, they need their games on as many platforms as possible. There needs to be no friction in buying their games. The old ideas about exclusives drawing audiences doesn't seem to be working anymore. Like, I get a first-party exclusive much more than a third-party exclusive at this point, but there's just not enough room for that audience to grow. At least that's what a lot of industry titles believe. I think that marrying the coal mine to the Xbox in 2024, they shifted their strategy completely away from being a dedicated platform. Remember that ad about how Xbox isn't just a console? It's kind of been a weird and wordy year for Xbox, because in some ways, that ad seems kind of correct. I think too early to put the nail in the Xbox box. In fact, it could end up being that this is all a bunch of worrywart stuff that was unnecessary. I don't know. But whatever the strategy ends up being, it's definitely not exclusivity. Like, do I think that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be on the PlayStation platform? Yes, I do. It would be incredibly stupid for them to limit it to Xbox when they are by far the least selling console behind the Switch and PS5. Switch 2 is coming too, and it's, just going to make exclusivity look stupider for Microsoft at least. And that's a pretty big ouchie when you buy Bethesda in order to restrict big Bethesda titles to your platform. And looking at it, it doesn't really look like that great of an idea anymore. But like Sony's a little less vocal about this, but they're being a little more flexible than they have been in the past. Who would have thought you'd see Horizon on a Nintendo console? I mean, it's not necessarily full-ass Horizon, it's a Lego game, but still. We'll see exclusives in the future, but it just, as a primary strategy for anybody but Nintendo, I think we'll see a lot less of it going forward, because it's just not going to make the same financial sense it once did. And number 8, Microsoft closes the Xbox Live Marketplace. This was a little bit less of an unexpected thing. The Xbox 360 did define the 7th generation console, and one of the key reasons was the Xbox Live Marketplace. It wasn't the first online console storefront, but for a lot of people, it was their first introduction to buying digital games. And yes, having Xbox bucks and having to buy them, that was all pain in the ass. The UI wasn't the best, but there were a lot of good games on the marketplace, and a lot of them were exclusive, in the era where that mattered a lot more. Looking at the list of games, most of the significant ones could still be played on the Xbox One and beyond, but there are still some noteworthy titles for a long time, and that's going to always suck. The marketplace was officially closed on July 29th, marking the end of an era for Xbox as a whole, and it's sad to see it go. The one positive I could say is, at least it makes the old Xbox 360 start up faster. That's nice, but it's always a drag when online stores shut down. At least this one lasts longer than the PlayStation 3 support. They gave a decent amount of warning before pulling the plug, but also it wasn't the only online storefront to end. Like, online for both the Nintendo 3DS and the Wii U ended last year, and both of those are much more devastating closures from a game preservation perspective. But the Xbox Marketplace shut down pretty significant. It's an end of an era. Ignoring the whole red ring of death thing, the 7th generation was a hell of a time for Xbox fans, so let's stick to remember the good times rather than mourning what we lost, because seriously, those last 2 years the Marketplace was barely useful anyway. And number 7, Blizzard's big survival game, 6 years to make. 2024 was a volatile time. It was an uncertain for the games industry. You think the studio is older than venerable Blizzard. If you look at the weather almost anything, then not totally. But it's another example of how risky the entire landscape is looking right now. The Dead Game in question is Odyssey, a survival game that was meant to be Blizzard's answer to Minecraft. On paper, it's a great idea. Any kind of proper competitor to Minecraft or the studio is interesting if nothing else. It's a market the AAA game industry hasn't even attempted to crack, well, other than this game, and it was canned before anybody got to really see it. This one's probably more of a fantasy of the Microsoft and Activision merger than anything else. Another byproduct of the mass layoffs that has occurred in January 2024. The total layoffs across the Microsoft gaming division is catastrophic. I'm talking about that's a lot of jobs, and Blizzard was not fair. They didn't just lose low-level guys during the war. They either made the figures of Blizzard, like President Mike Navarro, and their chief design officer got screwed too. Blizzard's got a long history of games they were working on that eventually got canceled. StarCraft, Ghost, for instance. But Odyssey seemed like it was actually going to happen. Sure, it was suffering through internal issues related to the engine, but at least according to this Bloomberg article, it seemed like they were hopeful about the Microsoft acquisition and seemed to think that we'd get development back on track. Instead, the whole thing went off the rails. But who knows how Odyssey would have eventually shaken out. It could have been crap, or it could have revolutionized the entire survival game market. I don't know. At number 6, NFT games are dead. Like, really, really dead. People for done 3, but 4 gave us that NFT is over, it's dead, it's over, baby. Trying to find reliable data on the decline of the entire NFT market is difficult because of all the blatant astroturfing of desperate startups trying to recoup their considerable losses by suckering some new schmuck into, coming along holding the bag. But even a cursory look at most of these projects shows they're abject failures. That's the thing about NFTs. You can see how many have been lost and how many people want them, and things are not looking good. The player-owned, play-to-earn t-shirt. Like, this value is generated just from playing the game. That's the question. And there isn't an answer, okay? That's why this whole thing fell apart. If you want 100% reliable proof that NFT gaming is done, look at Ubisoft. I mean, this company has a bandwagon to jump on way past the point of everyone else that it didn't want to jump on. In 2024, they released not just one, but 2 completely forgettable, worthless NFT games. Had the audacity to slap rain. Just painful. The game sucks. Nobody cares, even remotely, and they immediately tank. Making the game itself is risky enough. But throwing a bunch of confusing, player-alienating NFT crap on top of it only makes it harder to find success. I mean, it's hard enough for companies to like for years that it's pure profit. But now with NFTs, they have to build an entire player-owned ecosystem that can spiral out of control tank prices. It gives us something that nobody wants to engage. And that's all way too much for the average developer and the average consumer. They don't want something that doesn't move. They get the same thing they could do hundreds of other things. There's nothing about NFTs that having the whole sense of a larger perspective. Huge for the way that it's involved. When we get to the end, they just restart and play it. Get it close to the no longer function. For tethers in the series for years, it's close to the not even possible because of the reaction time and speed of the falling blocks is but in recent years, it's been the massive innovation in the technical using insane strategies that allow people to keep playing the game using blocks falling so fast. The most impressive use techniques is rolling, where players would really roll their fingers under the bottom of the controller. Seriously, it has to be seen to be believed. It sounds ridiculous, but it does actually work. Usually with speedrunning, you see people come up with in-game solutions to technical problems. With Tetris players, they come in with entire new hand movement tricks to keep up the ridiculous speed of high levels. The person to finally reach the finish line and beat Tetris is not a 13-year-old kid with using blue speed. The idea of some 13-year-old playing an NES in 2024, I mean, that's silly enough as it is. But, I mean, considering this is a 13-year-old kid who's hardly dealing with but with the first two there, that's just a serious action. I mean, for decades, no one even believed this could happen. And this kid wasn't alive for most of that time. After the board, Spec Ops The Line was delisted. Another year, another high-profile game delisted. This is hardly the only game that got pulled from the online storefront yearly entirely. But it's one of the most notable, to say the least. It probably got delisted because of music licenses. This is the Silent Hill 7th generation game. I barely even remember any licenses. But all taken, and you better believe it pays for over the music. They won't even do that with Grand Theft Auto games, so there's no way to tell they're doing the Spec Ops The Line, which sucks because it's a really interesting game. I'm not sure I would call it great, but it's a game that over the years I've come to expect just to do something very different. It's a thing that starts out with the single third-person shooter by the end. It's something that's more psychological horror. That's interesting, and no other game quite managed to do that this game has done on scale. It's messy, no doubt, but the audacity on display is commendable, and it never falls apart, per se. It's one of those games that should be played, or at least be out there for people to play, so it really sucks that you did it. Hopefully you get a second chance of life at some point, because it's a game that needs to be played, even if only for you to form an opinion on what the hell is happening. It's just like, it's working back in 2021, the whole Suicide Squad killed Justice. With how big of a problem we've seen this year, the failure of Suicide Squad killed Justice League almost assumed it was supposed to be a forever it's a larger game, but just weeks after launch, the writers felt it was the game had soft sales. WB claims that they lost $200 million on it. That's pretty bad. It wasn't really gift. And to Rocksteady, but the game at least keep going long enough to fulfill their pre-release promises. So when they announced it's really just a fun thing that they would be January, I don't think anybody was shocked, or even particularly upset. But the stuff that is getting most excited, you know, I'll go ahead and say this. If it wasn't for this so rather than, you know, live service crap that they created on the there's something added in the same repetitive live service slot pass we're all going to do. And a few uncertain questions that seem to kind of justify this way. Not much. The quality of that space on the base. Not great. It was free. Characters with one player. Something that they do, the game doesn't, you know, unless that final update, it's never going to. You know, everybody said with Jack to come back in the future season, they'll stay dead and hope to get there. Because, man, things move fast in this industry. Suicide Squad kind of feels like it happened 1,000 years ago, but who even cares? I mean, at least they're not closing the servers down, so people who want to play the game can. That's more than can be said about a lot of games on this list. Number 2, Netflix shuts down a AAA studio before you even announced the game. For years, everybody was getting into video games, thinking it was making quick bucks. Amazon was floundering, trying to get a foothold in the industry for years, and Netflix's efforts haven't been a lot better. In 2022, Netflix started building a Southern California game studio. They didn't have an official name, and they were bringing in big guns like Overwatch producer Taco Sonny and Joseph State, you know, the creative director at Bungie and 343. They also brought in art directors from Sony Santa Monica. I mean, there were big names in the industry, and that's signal Netflix was getting ready to step into the AAA games market. Team Blue, as they were called internally, they were doing big things. Netflix announced they were going to work on a brand new AAA multi-platform game and original IP. And
No more trouble! You're not getting out of here alive!
No, nothing. This isn't even the only big studio printed by industry back at the close this year with nothing else. Mass Effect director David Gator, his game studio, Eveybody, also shut down in 2024 without releasing a game. He said some kind of concept art or something against them. And at number 1, Time Court, which died in 2024. In fact, like a few weeks in 2024. 8 years in development, 2 weeks playable. That's Concord in a nutshell. A $250 million disaster that was by far the highest profile of that. It's a weird thing because the game wasn't terrible. Like, you read anything about it, and you assume it's a massive stage 4-style disaster, but it's not. It's just a mediocre, maybe kind of subpar DLC that nobody wanted to play. You know, nothing particularly appealing about it. There were a couple of things that were cool, but they were certainly nothing that outweighed the lame crap that nobody cared about or didn't want. And if it wasn't, the central killer was PlayStation's entire online division, and it cost $200+ million to make. It probably would have just been another beautiful bomb all the time. Console was supposed to be special. At least someone at Sony thought. Somebody thought that this, a half-baked Guardians of the Galaxy, was going to be the next big thing. It was. Sales were abysmal. Nobody cared. They shut down the game. So 2 weeks of being online. The immediate assumption was that they were pulling a multiverse. They were stocking way low for a few months if you wanted to free to play. But that didn't happen. Instead, Sony shut down the game, closed the studio that only required to year, along with a few other studios like Sony Toys, and yet again, didn't even get the chance to do the game. But hey, this console lives on as a secret level episode, right? I mean, the game didn't even last long enough for the advertising side to prepare the people. So, all Sure, art Red Ball. Thankfully, the other art wing is still in existence. When Arcane Austin made Prey, which is one of the best immersive games ever, Nintendo GameWorks was a memorable studio as well, with the Evil Within games, especially two. They were awesome games. Nintendo was revived at crafting, so that's good, but not a lot of these studios were lucky. Piranha Bytes, the devs behind the Gothic games, really suffered in 2024. Well, Opus Studios, the guys behind Vision of Man, they were shut down before the game was even out. Like, pulling out for all these studios. We've gone, but not stopped. At least some of it. That's all for today. Leave a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, hit like. If you're not subscribed, have a great time to do so. We have brand new videos every day of the week. That's the shooting person. Force a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, thanks very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon Hero. We'll see you next time. Getting trends pop up and change and influence everything. Well, really sucks. Hi, folks, it's Falcon. And today on Game Ranks 10, gaming trends that need to die in 2025. At number 10 is studios closing before even releasing a game. The video game industry was not in a good place. You want to think about it, look at how many studios end up closing before releasing anything. I mean, recently we talked about studios not even announcing anything. They either get bought or formed by some larger entity, exist for a while, and then disappear. Like, literally, like, you have no idea anything about them, even. And if there wasn't anybody reporting on the shutdown, you'd pretty much never know they existed. Like, it was supposed to be building some AAA IP, and it was closed without even announcing what they were working on. Casey Hudson, the director of the Mass Effect games, a guy who founded a new studio called Super Aero. They also shut down nothing for itself. Probably remember Toy, the studio that Sony shut down at the same time as Firewalk, the Concord guys. But earlier in the year, Sony closed down a different studio called Deviation, made up of former Call of Duty devs they acquired back in 2020, and they were working on some kind of PlayStation exclusive. We don't know what it was, and we probably never will. They the first-person shooter, and that was not just the Call of Duty clone. Not so sure that would lit the world on fire. Would be nice to know, though. It's not a complete new trend. Starting out is always the most dangerous time for anything. And if they don't have the funds to support themselves, or rather, the larger entities created or bought them doesn't have the funds to continue running it, then that's it. It seems like there were more high-profile studios closing nothing to show for it. Like, think of another stupid gimmick that studios investors that unloaded its own stuff after starting to do that. Used to be the blockchain, and we could need something else like that to make it more functional, like play-to-earn AI that creates a blockchain cloud. Somehow it creates thinking of it. And then, like, go on to get otherwise. Take that. Let's say it's free for now, but you get anywhere with it. You know, also, you won't. And number 9 is unnecessary remake. The industry wants to remake crazy. They were out of it. It was kind of absurd. I know it's an absolute deluge of these things are starting to make people sour on the basic idea of the signal, but I'm not quite there yet. Like, some of these are sound like third person mode and is that a remake? Does that qualify? I don't know. It does. I know. Don't answer that. But see, here's the problem. Sometimes it's really nice to have those older games playable on the modern hardware, or even updated to do something that takes the story and uses it in a manner that's better. Like in a lot of these games that they go to the Resident Evil 3 remake before. I mean, I prefer the new Resident Evil 4, but those things kind of got to get. And as you know, there's only one number one. Obviously, there's more than one for remake, but it's not really the majority of it. Look, we wouldn't be complaining about this if every one of these things was a Resident Evil 4 or a Silent Hill 2. A lot of them are pretty pointless, actually. They don't really improve the experience at all, and you can play the original just fine. Pointing at the Grand Theft Auto. Sony, though, there's a time to think the utterly unnecessary upgrades. They mostly amounted to a new and exciting reasons to buy old games at new game prices. Like last was Part 2, quote-unquote, remake, that it could have used as a finished PS5 update, but, you know, they sold it for $40, which I know is a low price for a new game, but that's not a PS5 update price. Like, at most, that's a few dollars. Yes, they threw in some extra to claim to justify the price, but get it? They put out a remake of Horizon Zero Dawn as well. There's a little more nuance to this one. The game does actually look quite a bit better, but the original still looks good. I mean, aside from the potato faces, I definitely prefer the graphical overhaul faces a lot more in the faces. They're a lot better than the original faces. Talk about every character, every single character that looks. That was actually one of my main gripes about Horizon Zero Dawn, and then they fixed it. So in some ways, I do think that's a necessary remake, but in other ways, the original does look pretty damn good still. Now, to be fair, they did make that upgrade cheap for people who already owned the game, but for people who didn't, I don't know if it justifies prolonging the new game price, you know? And for PC players, higher, fun, paying for the privilege of the game running it. And then there's the Until Dawn remake. I mean, it's easy for these to get lost in stuff. I almost forgot this existed. I was the one that reviewed it, if you recall. It does look better than the original. I mean, there's positives about it. I'm not going to say there aren't, but otherwise I definitely the original game was on a PS4, which doesn't play a lot of
Okay there,
I don't want to say it's completely, it's not like that. That's wrong. But for the most part, it's still going at full price. Like adding a new ending isn't that big of a deal. Like with the way things have been going, I doubt the remake train is going to be about it. Simple. But if it's not too much, could guys at least try to justify their business, like make it significantly more of something? At number 8 is AI voice actors, and again, I want to make sure that you're aware that there is nuance here. So everybody's going through that. It's not a surprise that we're trying to see AI generated images into the game. I'm a person who doesn't automatically think that is bad. However, I do want to say that in a lot of cases it is bad because it doesn't look as good. And let's talk about AI voice acting for a minute. It's definitely worse than the AI generated art for the game. It's getting into good, and in fact, there's a certain amount of effort people doing anything. It's just typing in things that are still vaguely described slides on top. You should be creating some supervised manual work with the thing that comes out of it, etc. AI voice acting much worse. So, you your boyfriend here? Much worse. Like, we're not seeing it super commonly. Didn't you really start working at first off example of game using AI voices? But God, they're not fixed back. Boxes will be on the move as we reflect on this 3-hour contestant. But there's this thing with AI voices where they're not good. Like, they're good. They sound like a person talking, but they sound like a person who lives in a library. Not a good library. Dull people. Lifeless. soul and friendly voice actors, like not funny voice actors like that. AI voice actors, they're not there. So like, I want to make it clear that there's ways that AI voice actors could be good, but I will also argue that yes, in the current state, I think development, temporary trends, stuff like that might be the only actually appropriate place for it. And a lot of people say, well, there's really advanced. No, there isn't. You can tell it's an AI voice actor. It's a bad performance and you can tell it's an AI voice actor. No, I don't accept that. And here's the thing. It's so easy to get a voice actor nowadays. There's really no excuse not to use a real person. I'm right here. None of you have asked me to be a voice actor in your game, and it would be so easy to get into your game. Just saying. For every team that has decided to use AI for the Falcons of Hero, which I might add is literally everybody who has used AI, because nobody has ever asked me to be in their game. I'm having fun with this. I don't have aspirations. I would if asked, but don't have aspirations. And the reason why is because there's plenty of great actual voice actors who just haven't worked. Like, it's understandable that voice actors are going to strike over the threat of AI voice work. I get it, though. I get the thinking behind it. And a lot of major industries did this companies for the threat of even guys like Think who are determining techno-brains for this. And what it all really boils down to is these AI voices just humans. In isolated chunks, they can sound pretty convincing, but there's a reason that acting is acting. There's a human putting your experience into it. It's basically that for everything. There's appropriate places to use these types of things, but unless there's some human intervention, some direction, some editing, some changing, some, art, then it's kind of just lifeless and doesn't work. And I'm talking about voice actors, but that really, it's across the board for AI. AI can be amazing. It's also allowing people who are very lazy to do things that suck, but it kind of seems not to suck, but they suck.
Things are about to get a bit more explosive as contestants that are eliminated in the arena will go kaboom.
And number 7, graphic updates to the worse. This should not be a trend, but in 2024, it's justified. Normally, updates are supposed to be a trend to make games more stable and perform better. But last year, man, did we have examples of the opposite. Instead of updates that improve games, they made them a lot worse. Like Fallout 4 Next Gen update. Oh boy, was that supposed to make Fallout 4 better? And oh boy, did it not. Way more complicated than that. Changes made stuff run worse on modern consoles compared to the old version. The graphics were and even worse, the update completely broke mod support on PC. And this was right before the impressive Fallout 1 total conversion came out. For a game series supposed to be mod friendly, Bethesda's updates certainly break mod. It's almost like they don't really have a good reason to be doing almost like all of that mod friendly games that play but then the made to be search mod. No, you justify. You just don't want to change. That's it. You can change and it would be better. I promise you. But you know what? Forget that. Let's talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro launch. The Pro's new features were supposed to make games run better and look better at high resolution. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen. It's certain updates that just straight up made the games look and play worse than PC. Games like Alan Wake 2 and Silent Hill 2, they got hit the hardest, but they were hardly the only example. A lot of the ugliness came from the PS5 Pro's ESSR, which is basically Sony's answer to DLSS. But either from developers not understanding the tech or that it was just not ready for prime time, it makes a lot of games look worse, which is really annoying for most games because you couldn't toggle it on and off. The entire update rollout was scattershot. It was hard to tell what games actually did anything with the PS5 Pro and worked, and which ones didn't. Some would change the graphics settings to include PS5 Pro stuff. Some of them would appear exactly the same, but actually have the features. The whole thing was a mess. One thing that was supposed to make the thing worth the eye-watering price tag was this upscaling stuff. It was a central pillar for the marketing campaign, but the end result was mixed.
Morning, Arthur.
I mean, it did look better, but some of them looked worse. And that's not what makes you go, well, $700, this is worth it. It's fine. It's a mid-console upgrade that, I mean, for all
Haven't
intents and
received anything from
purposes,
you in a
has
while,
the
Mr.
potential to be
Morgan.
good, but didn't matter. And it's not a total disaster or anything. It mostly does what it advertises. But at that price point, it should be flawless.
Very
Like,
nice.
it's
We should get top
$700.
dollar for
If you
this.
already had a PlayStation 5, that's already a serious issue. But honestly, like, none of what it does is $700 worth, at least yet.
Good
At
job,
number
Mr.
6 is
Morgan.
annoying login
You know,
and
Arthur,
required launch.
I can always make you a new satchel if you're tight on
And,
space.
you know, let's just go ahead and talk about the Grand Theft Auto games and how I like playing them on the Steam Deck. And I don't like a lot of them on the Steam Deck. It's not just the Grand Theft Auto games, though. Probably most annoying when you buy a brand new game that you're excited to play because you've never played it before, and you get it installed, you get yourself settled in, and you have to launch some stupid launcher that makes you log in, which a lot of time makes you start a new account, which is super annoying. I do not want to put an email in the password and install the captcha and check my email for a two-factor code, especially with
Keep my eye out for
Google
some
and
good
I have
material.
to use Google's automatic login to log into the thing. It's a rare problem, but man, is it an infuriating. And it's just a totally unnecessary barrier to playing a game. Homework. It's homework. Do your homework and you'll get rewarded by being able to play the game, which you would have been able to play if you didn't have any homework. It's even worse for the launchers for games you don't play all the time. In fact, a lot of the time, guess what? I won't turn on a game because they have a launcher that I don't usually use. Why? Because it doesn't remember my friggin' password. I have to log in again because it's been long enough since the last time I played that it dropped the login. That's not even counting the issues that having separate launchers introduce the game. They cause startup issues. They make the game harder to mod. They generally just exclusive and a lot of time, and I don't have to get my own play to do this, but I can remember several over the past few years. A lot of the time, launchers it's helpful. It's training the game. I don't know if right now word to, but there have been some, and it's the most annoying thing you can do. Extra launchers are just stupid. It's stupid. What's the point? Sometimes, but they work exactly as they should, man. They don't crash the game or give you startup issues or whatever. Sometimes it's just a launch. You're trying to play a game and the launch is like, you're hogging all the resources on my PC. Yes, I just thought of that. I'm being very good to avoid that. Really do this. All this crap you failed. I shouldn't be making people do these small parodies and talk about system launches. That's not something you should ever do. And I will say at least one guy, 2K released their reliable. They all just launched directly now, except for the Rockstar one. Nope, I put Grand Theft Auto 3 on my Steam Deck and it was $6. I was like, oh, it's like Grand Theft Auto 3. And then it took me a week to do it because I just didn't want to buy it. There's a reason I want to play it.
Do your vice.
And number 5, I think the gaming industry, a lot like the movie industry specifically. I mean, developers are just taking risks. And it's not necessarily because developers are making those choices either. The budgets for video games are set by, well, the buttholes that, control the money. So don't think that I'm just saying every dev is just, they're not creative anymore. That's not what I'm saying at all. But games are they kind of starting to run together because it just, AAA means, a specific range of things at this point. Basically like Uncharted to Dark Souls. If it's AAA, it's going to sit somewhere in there. Aesthetically, it might be very different than I did Uncharted with Dark Souls, like Resident Evil is something aesthetically very different. But, I mean, obviously, control-wise, there's things that it owes with those games. It doesn't feel like playing both of those games. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. And I mentioned this at the top of this point. It's because of the budget. The more money that you invest into a video game, the safer they want that investment to be. And therefore, the guardrails go up. You can't do this, this, and that. Please just do this. Just make me a hit You know, like that one. I actually forgot one more thing. Rather than a range in between two games, Dark Souls and Uncharted, maybe it should be a triangle. Live service is the other point on that triangle. You can basically put any game on a point somewhere inside of that triangle. I would say it'd be pretty much accurate. And that's because games cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make now. But, you know, so many of those are now fading. Maybe they might start to might not have had some double A projects in the works. And then if you got something in double A that is going to get awesome, maybe, you know, bump up the budget, bump it up to triple A, something in the middle of the development project. Maybe, this is wishful thinking. That's not going to happen. And number 4 is adding DRM to games after they come out. This kind of nonsense just needs to stop. There's not like a nuanced way for this to be okay. I don't want to live in this world where not only do they talk in microtransactions after the fact, they do it with DRM. Now, I don't want to say it's necessarily a completely common practice, but it's been popping up enough these past few years. But when Bethesda snuck the Nuvo, Indigo Squire, year after a year. Or more recently, like when Capcom inserted the Enigma Protector into a bunch of their old games. I guess because of some new anti-modding corporate policy. That's mostly what the quote-unquote protector did. Messed up mods people have been using for years for basically no reason. It didn't just kill mods either. It also made a lot of the older games run a lot worse. Because as you know, that's a fairly common thing with DRM. So basically, they're just encouraging people to pirate their older games. Because with DRM, they're inserting makes for a worse experience in literally every way. Capcom did eventually remove Enigma, but they seem to see this as only a temporary setup, bound to the fact once they solve the performance issues. Spoilers, they're not going to solve the performance issues unless they develop some way for a computer to replicate its own hardware, where it has more resources. It's like, unless Capcom is just really adamant about stopping on probably does. I doubt they're going to put the work in hand. Because again, probably physically impossible. Just adding more to the choice, bring finite situation of resourcing. I mean, it's stupid. I hate it. It just really sucks how, you know, I want DRM in my game now. They won't tell anybody. They won't give notice. Just one day it's there. Fine. At number 3, it's microtransactions, particularly the French one. This would not be a Falcon Bright list if we didn't go there. The cost of microtransactions was out of control in 2024. We're past the point of calling any of these prices micro. Everywhere you look, there's seemingly a new microtransaction controversy, and it's mostly surrounding the price. $30 skins in Apex Legends, $20 for Killzone stuff in Helldivers 2, Black Ops 6 Battle Pass in a Battle Pass, the good Battle Pass section here. I know somebody else has made that joke. I definitely am not the first. There's no freaking way. But you get what I'm getting at. Prices are out of control. And the thing is, people are going to keep buying because that's how it works. They don't make stuff based on because if they ask the players, hey, you want more microtransactions that are more expensive, I don't think any person would say yes. Not one. I really don't. Popularity not. But also, here's the problem. It's incentive. There are always things that have some kind of incentive to buy something. And you get more for the pro battle. And there's now bonus. You get 55%. And hey, if you buy the 30 on this thing, you're getting improvements that you love. Apex Legends, more than those, $5 from people new. They set up pretty manipulative economy. And it works. People are going to keep buying it. Because, I mean, it makes sense. It needs some extent within the logic of these games communities. The normalization of this crap. I mean, live service games have done it. There's always an outcry because nobody actually wants them, but at the same time, they know how to set it up so that they want to participate eventually. And there really isn't much of a solution. I could tell everybody to vote with their wallet and not buy these things. But there's enough people who play games that have the money to waste on this shit that makes it enviable in some way. And if it doesn't automatically make it so, they do everything that's possible to make it so. And if we're clear, I don't believe in vote with your wallet. I voted with my wallet too many times in my life, and the positions I've held are not. You can't get everybody to vote with their wallet because some people's wallets are so fat this stuff doesn't look like a problem. And you know what you felt when somebody showed up at high school with the new Nikes or whatever. You thought,
Good boy.
It's fun, man. They know how to weaponize it. And a lot of people don't have the money to be playing with it, but enough people do that they get sucked in. Yeah, something big's got to for this to change. I hate it. I want it to go away. I don't believe it.
You okay, boy?
And number two is shutting down critically acclaimed developers studios. Is this really where we're at? Where studios universally praised get shut down? That's what happened behind the Prince of the Lost Crown. A game that was never going to be a runaway hit, but for what it was critically acclaimed, and people who bought it, bought it. They liked it too. Not like people hate those games. People really liked it. But it also proved that there was life left in the Prince of Persia franchise. It's a good game. So, of course, Ubisoft staked everything on it. They had possibly high sales expectations. There's no way for Prince of Persia the Lost Crown to meet the expectations they gave it. And so the team was disbanded before even giving them a chance to make a sequel. Like, that's the specific reason why it didn't go gangbusters, by the way. With something like that, where it's a dormant series that people aren't necessarily coming to trust you with mishandling of it over time, you gotta do, like, one game as proof of concept that it does decently. The second game is where you go. That's where the marketing money goes. But, Ubisoft really SVNSE and CENCS. I don't mean to just talk about this game specifically, because it's certainly not the only one. I find that talk about that, not just criticism, but a legitimate hit that most likely made a shitload of money for Microsoft. They're like, shut them down. I don't know how you have a hit and it's not a big enough of a hit. There's no way that wasn't a profitable game. It did go gangbusters for what it is. Its budget could not have been that high. I don't know. I'm not so naive to think that just because somebody makes a good game will be a success. But it seems like success isn't really a factor here, because I just gave you an example of one that was successful enough and one that was actually a legitimate hit, and both studios got shut down. Fortunately, Tango Gameworks got resurrected, but that didn't happen as the Lost Crown guys. It just sucked how quickly they lost it. I hope things start to stabilize a bit from here. The industry can't be this volatile forever, right? At some point, the post-pandemic hangover has got to end. Does drinking a cup full of eggs get rid of hangovers? Does that work? I've heard that works. Can we do that? And finally, at number one is massive flops everyone can see coming. At a certain point, games got so big it stopped being a playground of creators, and it became big business. The paradox of the entertainment industry is that it's run by businessmen who, by their very nature, don't know anything about art. They're boring losers. Some of them have a creative bone in their body, but not many. And when they do, their job is essentially to contradict that bone as soon as they can. All right, so anybody with 2 eyes could understand that Concord wasn't going to be the financial success it needed to be. I don't understand how this thing got the budget that it got, and then it got a bunch of money sunk into marketing. That was going to just magically make it so that people wanted to play them. I'm not saying there was nothing appealing about this game, but it was the same damn game, again, with a generally less good coat of paint, and that's honestly kind of generous. I don't want to get into it. I do want an answer. How no one in the entire creative process would just come out and admit that this thing was a big fat turkey in the movie. Skull and Bones kind of has an excuse for it. Ubisoft made a deal with the government to send for it. The release game come out with I want it, and that explains why that game came out that was canceled. Although, if it had to be they probably would have warned it, because it sounded cool. But, by the way, there was no secret extra mind. What's the deal there? This is characterless, soulless corporate product. It makes Call of Duty look unique and interesting. And I'm not saying Call of Duty's bad, so don't jump my head. I like me a Call of Duty campaign, but it's also Call of Duty. We know what Call of Duty is. It's not like we play it because it's the most original, innovative series that's ever been made. It's Call of Duty. It's actually kind of old school at this point. That's not an insult, but unique, it's not. And then, of course, there's Suicide Squad. Don't get what anybody was thinking with this. It seems intentionally designed to be as unappealing as possible to its core demographic. In this case, it's still got some Rocksteady charm to it. It's not like the quality of the play is bad or anything. Stuff that works. It's not the majority of the stuff, sadly, but some of it's there. Still, don't understand why Warner Brothers decided to bet it all. They were trying to murder all your favorite superheroes. Yeah, clones, whatever. But they're all kind of
You all right there,
it's
boy?
also, and I don't just mean to say that, but all these games have this weird, oversaturated color palette. Saturation itself isn't a problem. It's better work. But it's not fair. They're all trying to be cartoonish, but also hyper-realistic. It's wrong. It doesn't work. Classic with itself. It does not do it. Yes, they do that. That is on purpose and works, but it's still again, they were all bad ideas from the start. Someone with some kind of authority should have looked at them and handled them years ago. But here's the thing: anybody who wanted to do that probably had no authority. Probably the other way around, and the people with the authority kept saying, "No, we're not going to get into it. Before the 80 hours of the time, thank you." It just makes everybody at Warner Brothers look out of touch and clueless because you have to be in order to release that stuff. But whatever, multi-million-dollar game company. We talked about it. Okay? I got a bonus before we leave. Silk song joke. Those two go. Well, silk song jokes are done. So it's before they got there, it's time to stop. It's either going to come out when it comes out, or it's not. At this point, I have to imagine a lot of other people who don't really care. I think that's the other going to happen. Until then, just stop talking about it. Stop anticipating silk song and every Nintendo Direct to Sony say to play. Put away the clown makeup. Let it go. I know this is the internet. The ultimate expression of the internet is running a joke into the ground, but in 2024, we can let this one go. Because it's officially time to bring back Half-Life 3 speculation. It's in the air. It's happening for real this time, guys. I just know it. That's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, and have a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every other week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. Let's put it up, Nero.
Shit.
There, boy. Yeah.
The history of gaming is a mixed bag. There's a lot of high points, but there are a lot of low points. And while celebrating the good is important, it's also important to talk about the bad. Without knowledge, history is doomed to repeat itself. Is it not? Hi folks, it's Falcon. Today on Game Ranks, 10 of gaming's biggest tragedies. Starting off at number 10, I think we're going to touch on something that's going to hit home for a lot of people here. The gradual breaking the law. Can't talk about that. That's another prototype. Yeah. This is Malcolm Greenberg from NVIDIA, who previously joined us to cut an RTX 4090 core in After Science. This time, he served as the lead thermal engineer on the RTX 5090 Founders Edition, and he brought a lot of prototypes and a lot of vocabulary. This is a pure aerodynamic change, so the focus on thermal expansion, application of thermocouple. It's an art. Tremendous skill, not just asking here for vaporization. You can actually calculate the mass flow based on power, materials start working in liquid metal. In this video, Malcolm shows us liquid metal on the RTX 59 with the design and considerations around it, a world first with a horizontal 3D vapor chamber piping structure, and we learn about aerodynamics and thermal design. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, I'm joined by Malcolm, thermal engineer and thermal evangelist at NVIDIA. Malcolm, you joined now for a whole free video.
Try and take me out again. See where it gets you.
Brought a
All
box
right,
of
take a
mysteries,
look.
and this time there was a very large suitcase of
The
mysteries.
fucking thing you got right now.
There,
Though.
huh?
This is for the 5090. We're going to go through a lot of stuff today, but Malcolm, if you could help walk us through some things on the
nice.
table. Sure. To give people a primer. Yeah, 5090, thermally, it is incredible what we've been able to achieve. And this is kind of the evolution on how we got to 5090. So, obviously, 4090, we have some, very early flow and acoustic samples here. And then new this generation is a 3D DC. So here is kind of the evolution of the 3D DC from its very early infancy through towards the final 3D DC. DC here meaning vapor chamber.
See the lake just up north here?
This here is
Round the man
incredible
that it was.
3DC where the heat
Just
pipes
kidding.
directly connect to the vapor chamber, featuring a new artery wick in the evaporator area. Yeah, I'm not sure if the shadow will help the camera see it, but there's some really
got
slight,
something for me?
the difference, the delta, about 300 microns. So there's like 300 micron height difference in the, is it actually called sintered powder? Yeah, this is sintered powder, and this is also
Come across a few
three
of these
different types
myself.
of wick. So we have the braid wick,
the sintered powder, and then a mesh wick on the top cover.
Okay.
Pick
Very
this
cool.
up off the
And
street, no
this is
doubt.
a test vehicle.
Yeah, so this is one of our test vehicles here. You can see all the thermocouples miraculously weaving their way through to each component. And then, of course,
Very
with the metal
nice.
thermal interface material,
Shame to part with, I bet.
triple barrier gasket there to ensure it's reliable, make sure you can use it in all orientations, shock advised,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And there's more
People
back
lose
there
these
too.
all the time.
So there's a lot of stuff. Before that, this video is brought to you by
Coming
Height
to a
and the
stack of
Y70
those,
case.
huh?
The Height Y70 case has a lot of polish and heavy attention to detail on the finer points. The case can fit radiators that are massive in depth to the side mount, has cooling in the floor of the case for direct intake to the
across a few
GPU,
of
and tries
these
to find a
myself.
balance between structural supportive dust filters without obstructing too much intake. The Y70 is a follow-up to the popular Y60, which got Height to where it is today with its cut-corner tempered glass case. The objective for this video really is just to talk about how this stuff works in the design process. But same thing we did with the 40 series, except now there's a lot of new topics. And we just took apart that unnamed card on the channel recently. To me, there's some stuff here that's familiar to that. The performance on that card, I've been telling people on the show here, is really the only reason that I have any faith, speaking honestly, that a 2-slot card can do 575 watts.
There's too many questions
Performance on the
about
prototype
previous
was so
ownership.
crazy. And later, if there's some of the same principles applied, yeah, then I think that's where it's interesting. So,
Yeah, so the whole architecture kind of revolutionary concept this generation is dual blow through. So both sides of the airflow directly go through. Basically, rapid start. And what that does is it uses pressure drop, increase airflow, temperature, reduce resistance. It's really beautiful thing for blow through. Obviously, to take apart our prototype and is dual blow through.
So, honestly, that a 2-slot card can do 575 watts.
Yeah.
Because the performance on the prototype was so crazy. And granted, that's bigger. If there's some of the same principles applied,
Yeah.
then I think that's where it gets interesting. So,
Yeah, so the whole architecture kind of revolutionary concept this generation is dual blow through. So both sides of the heatsink, the airflow directly goes through, which basically means it doesn't have to turn in order to exhaust out of the graphics card. And what that does is it reduces pressure drop, increases airflow, reduces temperature, reduces acoustics. The really beautiful thing about blow through, and obviously you've taken apart our prototype, and there's video on that. And when we look at the prototype, the reason it had to be 4 slots wasn't because the thermal solution necessarily needed 4 slots. When you look at it, you can see the fins are very wide; they're far apart, and even though it is 4 slots, really thermally you don't need all that. It was more because the PCB, the GPU plus memory, the stack up was 4 slots. So if we want to rotate the PCB and have what we call 3/3 blow through, or 100% blow through.
okay, I see. I was trying to follow the 3/3.